Tesla stock continues to consolidate its recent gains, with the stock falling about 2% today, down to $323 per share. Now, here in this video, we will go over all of your breaking news, your option activity, short interest, are shorts covering or are they not, as well as everything else. And boy, is the work cut out for us in this video. First and foremost, Dan Ives on CNBC said, quote, 5 years ago, they said Tesla was never going to be profitable. They said they'd never get to 100 to 200,000 deliveries a year. Now we're talking about 2 million deliveries. When it comes to robotaxi, it's a matter of when, not if. The game changes now for Tesla. As a Tesla investor, Musk having a seat at the table changes everything. Tesla has released a Cybertruck wiper blade replacement for $75 on its online shop. Tesla has also introduced interest-free payment plans via Klarna for its online shop items. This allows buyers to spread out the cost of items with 4 payments over 6 weeks for 0% APR. Tesla has officially ended its in-house Cybertruck wrap service. This move comes just 2 months after the automaker cut down the number of colored options for the Cybertruck wraps, reducing choices from 11 colors to just 3. Jefferies analyst Felipe Hochis has raised his Tesla price target to $300 from $195. That is the biggest price target increase we have seen in a long time. But he strangely enough just keeps his hold rating on the shares. The firm says Tesla should take advantage of its shares re-rating 30% since Trump's election to raise equity. So basically, Tesla should sell stock here. Quote, assuming markets remain competitive, deregulation raises the company's growth path, but also the investment requirements for Tesla and competitors in ventures where returns remain unclear, the analyst tells investors in a research note. I think perhaps this analyst probably isn't covering Tesla very well, because Tesla has grown their cash reserves from 12, 18 billion-ish just a couple of years ago, all the way now up to the mid 30 billion range. I believe about $35 billion of cash or so, if my memory serves me well, is currently sitting on Tesla's balance sheet. Tesla does not need to raise capital, although would it be a terrible idea to raise a little bit? Perhaps, probably not. Assuming Tesla stays at a 1 trillion-ish valuation, if Tesla did want to raise 2% of the float or sell 2% of the float to raise capital, that would raise Tesla about $20 billion. I mean, what's a 2%, equity raise really gonna hurt? As far as Tesla stock, not much, but $20 billion added to the balance sheet could be huge. So I don't necessarily disagree that Tesla should raise capital right now. I don't think Tesla needs to, and I'm not expecting Tesla will. But if Tesla does decide to do a 1 or 2% equity raise, that's honestly not a terrible idea if that does happen. Keep that in mind. Don't think it will happen, but if they do, and Tesla reacts, let's say, negatively to that, I think that would be a buying opportunity. So I think Tesla's really set up in a win-win scenario right now. Tesla is taking the cybercab on a tour across 6 European cities. With dates and locations provided here, London will be late November through early December. Same is true for France. Amsterdam will be mid-December to late December. Oslo, mid-December to late December. Same for Stockholm City as well as Berlin. Chinese EV maker XPeng showed off its modular flying vehicle called Land Aircraft Carrier. With a starting price of $280,000, they have received 2,000 pre-orders, and it takes just 5 minutes to put the aircraft back into the carrier, and it looks like this will transport 1 to 2 people pretty comfortably, and it's basically like a huge drone. Deliveries of this massive vehicle are scheduled for 2026 with an annual production capacity of about 10,000 units. Ashok Alaswamy, the head of Tesla's AI and autopilot, writes on X, with the latest release of V12.5.6.3, FSD is using end-to-end neural networks for driving across highways, city streets, and parking lots, and is now shipped widely for AI4 vehicles. Highway driving should be smoother, more natural, and even safer than the previous explicit control stack. Check out the different driving styles to set speed, and lane changing preferences. Enjoy and let Tesla AI know if you have any feedback. And of course, a lot of people are asking if FSD V13 is coming soon, because let's face it, there's a lot of points that are starting to add up here, and it's becoming quite a mouthful. Here are one of the main stories for Tesla stock today. According to the news wires, Tesla is actually trading lower today following insider selling. Specifically, director Kathleen Wilson-Thompson sold 100,000 shares of the business stock in a transaction on Monday, November 11th. The shares were sold at an average price of $346.02 for a total transaction of $34.6 million. Following the completion of the sale, the director now directly owns 5,400 shares in the company, valued at approximately $1.868 million. So this director sold like 87% of her entire position in Tesla on Monday, which, yes, that is not great. It's not a great sign, but there's a lot of reasons why people sell stock. Perhaps she's just maybe wants to retire soon. Maybe she wants to diversify a little bit. Maybe her kids are getting married and she wants to buy a new boat for hell's sake, right? There's a lot of reasons why people sell a stock. This has zero correlation to a stock's long-term performance when people sell. I mean, look at how many times a Tim Cook or Jeff Bezos or Bill Gates or Elon, for that matter, has sold Tesla stock at much lower prices than where those stocks are currently trading at. It doesn't mean a whole lot when insiders sell stock. And I think if you were bullish on Tesla previously, well, this is not a reason to not be bullish on Tesla now. But some of this selling, especially an insider selling almost all of their position in the company they work for, is not seen as a great sign in the near term for investors. Now, a different story is taking place today in the options market. Keep in mind, Tesla stock is down about 2.5%, but option buyers via hedge funds and institutions, big money, excluding retail, is very positive. You have 178 different trades totaling $108.14 million with a positive order value of, get this, 92%. So 92% of the option activity in Tesla stock today is bullish. Only 8% is bearish. That's a pretty damn good ratio. It really doesn't get better than that for Tesla. If we look at the option activity in the entirety of the last week, you have 2,924 different trades totaling $2.83 billion with a positive order value of 83%. Keep in mind, this is just hedge funds and institutions, so retail presumably is a little bit more bullish than this, but 83% positive order value, that's a great week for Tesla. So keep that in mind. At the same time the stock is down, you actually see hedge funds, institutions, just really big money in general, adding to their positions, wanting more upside exposure to Tesla. And I think this is likely a trend that's going to continue now that Trump is going to be the next president, and Tesla is likely to see favorable policies and favorable outcomes because of Elon's relationship with Trump. Short interest of free float for Tesla sitting at 2.79%. Short interest of free float. $25.73 billion currently sold short in Tesla stock, with about 78 million shares that are currently sold short. We can see today you have return shares of 1.2 million, borrowed shares of 938,000. That actually means you have 250,000 shares that are on net today being covered on, which is a great sign. Now, today we did get PPI that came out for your month-over-month headline at 0.2%. The expectation was 0.2%, so that met expectations. It looks like core PPI month over month came in a little bit hotter than expected with a forecast of 0.2%. You actually came in at 0.3%, so that's some of the cause for concern today in markets. But initial jobless claims came in at 217,000. Expectations were around 225,000. So you are seeing the lowest initial jobless claims in about 6 months, and that is offsetting some of the hotter than expected core PPI data that we got today, making this market not as bad as perhaps it otherwise would have been. Now at 3 p.m. today, we have Fed Jerome Powell's speech. Now in order to get this video out before 4 p.m., unfortunately, Fed Chair Powell comes on in about 30 minutes or so. And yeah, we won't be covering that here in this video, but we will cover that in the next video. My expectation is it's going to be a lot of the same old that we heard at the Fed meeting. And the markets seem a little bit jumpy about what Powell could say today. And as long as there's not a big change, that likely leads to markets moving higher. Although it could lead to some downside move if he does change the script a little bit from last week's FOMC meeting. So we will see exactly what is said there. Now, as far as the broader markets, what's happening today? Russell 2000 underperforming, down 0.63%. You can see the VIX is down as well, 0.64% at the time of recording this video, which is interesting because you would expect the VIX to have went up over the last 2 days as markets were actually selling off, but that is not happening. The VIX is down to 13.92. It does look like you're starting to get a little bit of complacency here. Some people are starting to get very bullish, and to see the VIX continuing to fall even though markets are starting to fall raises a few red flags to me, because you should expect that volatility, as it goes up, the VIX to also go up. But it just continues to fall. That means people are just not very worried about markets right now. And when you get people that are not worried about markets, that's where you can actually start to see more of that corrective downside. I think at this point, we could have a correction here. We could be starting a correction, but I personally don't think that happens until the beginning of 2025, but I could be wrong there. It's totally possible we could have a correction by the end of this year, but I think the animal spirits, the optimism is quite high right now, and that's what you're seeing in the VIX. And as long as we don't have a big change up from the Fed, really bad tariff policies announced from Trump, or any other shock, I don't see there as being a catalyst to really push markets lower. People talk about valuations, but valuations in and of themselves are not a reason why people sell stocks overnight. Now, as you guys know, Tesla has a very high beta to what the markets do. So if the markets do start to come down, if we do get some period of weakness here soon, Tesla is going to fall more than the markets. If we get a melt up, if things get a little bit more optimistic into year end for 2025, then Tesla's going to do very well. And I think it's as simple as that. Tomorrow morning, we will be getting retail sales month over month. I think this is a big data point to be watching right now. Really anything that has to do directly with the consumer or with the economy, because we have since really just disregarded anything that has to do with the economy and potential weakness, right? We've all come to the conclusion, or at least Wall Street has, that we're going to have a soft landing. If indeed it looks like the data starts to get worse again, then that's going to throw into question the soft landing. And that would throw into question, should markets be trading as high as they are? And the answer is clearly not. So that's what I think gives us an actual correction. This correction could be actually 10 to 20% in the beginning parts of 2025. I'm not convinced the economic data will turn down this year in 2024. I think that's more like a start of 2025 thing, and that's what I could see that could actually give us a correction here, again, minus any unforeseen events that happen or could happen between now and year end. So I think retail sales is very important coming tomorrow. If that comes in bad, then Wall Street will start to get concerned. If that comes in good and surprises to the upside, as some of the economic data in recent weeks has, then that will help further support our markets and thus support Tesla stock. CNN's Fear and Greed Index as of right now is sitting at 68. Yesterday you were at 67, so that is moving higher a little bit today. Again, surprising considering all of your indexes are in the red, and it just updated. It's now down to 64, which makes more sense that you're actually falling 3 points from where you were yesterday, but you are almost exactly in the middle of greed here. So there's still a lot of upside momentum in our markets, and today it's not changing too much. You can see here the percent of stocks trading above their 50-day moving average is only down to about 60%. 1.29% of all stocks are breaking below their 50-day moving average. Again, you're really not changing the momentum for markets. You're really not decisively going negative, if you will, for momentum until you start to get like a 5-6% day of stocks breaking below their 50-day moving average. That's more of a broader based kind of retreat for markets. Today, it's not a great day, but it's really not a bad day either for your average stock out there. The latest AI investor sentiment survey that came out last night shows 49.8% of investors are bullish, neutral investors at 21.8%, and bearish investors at 28.3%. Fed Barkin had some very interesting comments today. She says the current level of the unemployment rate is fine. Whether it is normalizing or weakening is still something to be determined. She says companies still feel labor is short on a long-term basis and are not firing, though job growth is slowing. She says the U.S. is the only advanced economy where GDP is now beyond pre-pandemic trends. She says the biggest risk to growth is probably the unemployment rate. A cycle of layoffs would dampen spending, and this is the comment that really stuck out to me. She says a significant market correction could also cause families with more net worth to slow consumption. Whoa, we haven't seen anyone talk about a potential correction in markets. Maybe that's a little bit of foreshadowing. Maybe, Jerome Powell is going to be hawkish today. I don't know. But that comment just really stuck out to me. And in other news, U.S. money market assets surpassed $7 trillion for the first time, which that really does just go to show there's a lot of cash on the sidelines. At some point will make its way into equities, and that'll really help propel stocks in that moment when you see that transfer start to take place. And I do think personally Tesla will be a big beneficiary of that. As far as Tesla stock over the past couple of days, Tesla has been red. You were down 6% on November 12th. Yesterday you were up 0.5%, and now today you're down 3%. I think this is just a normalization. I think this is consolidation. I don't think this is the start of a material give back of this rally. I would really watch support around 307, 310 or so. If we hold support there, that's great. It looks like Tesla's holding pretty solid support today at the 220 level. If we close above 220, that's going to be great. If we don't, not a big deal. I think this is simple price discovery after such a large rally that we have seen that is actually healthy. If you take a look at the RSI, it's back down to 65.95. So that's reset a bit from where it was just recently at about 83, 84 or so. This can now give us more room to move to the upside without being super overextended. But you know what is overextended? The MACD. The MACD line is at 24.2, signal line at 16.71, which is kind of where you normally get to at the end of a rally. That doesn't have to be the case, but to see the MACD come down a little bit would obviously be welcomed, in my personal opinion. You don't want to see your momentum indicators just continuing to go higher, and really the MACD hasn't turned down yet. So that's something that I think could start to happen over the next coming days. Again, overall, I think this is healthy. I think this is normal. I think we're still pushing for an end of the year new all-time high for Tesla stock, as long as we don't get any shock event or anything drastically different from the Fed, or the economic data starts to plunge, or anything crazy like that. Let's say Nvidia doesn't disappoint on earnings. As long as there's no borderline black swan events between now and year end, I think the momentum is clearly higher for Tesla and clearly higher for the broader market. So let me know what you think about this information down below in the comment section. You guys have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.